And we are live. I'm gonna give 1 or 2 more minutes for people to join in. I see that people are joining. So I think we can start. So hello everyone, welcome to our keynote session. I'm really enjoying our event so far, and I hope you guys are doing that too. Joining me today currently is Chaitanya, and he's gonna give us a keynote session around automation testing. So before we go live with the session, a few notes. So we'll be recording this session. We'll be hosting this live over YouTube as well, and once the session ends, the session will stay over YouTube. In addition, we'll be also taking few questions at the end of the session, so feel free to ask your questions in the QA functionality given in the side. Before we get started, I'll be also moderating the chat, and at the end of the session, we'll be picking few of the choice of questions. But feel free to share your questions. We'll compile them and maybe create a blog with all the right questions at the end of the session. In addition, after end of the session, we'll be encourage people to go and visit our partner booths as well, and do check out, interact with them, and see what product lines they have there that can help you out in your overall testing as well. Right. So starting with the session, joining me today is Chaitanya Kolar. Chaitanya is the managing director in Deloitte, leading the quality engineering practice. So Chaitanya brings an extensive experience in leading and driving specialized testing initiatives for clients, especially around test automation, performance and resilience engineering, test data management, and service virtualization. All the core keywords that I like, right? So in today's talk, Chaitanya will go do a deep dive into how we can enable quality engineering functions by adopting artificial intelligence, specifically more around how machines and humans work together to a fruitful outcome, right? But that's it from my side. Chaitanya, I think it's over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you, LambdaTest, for this opportunity, and to everybody here who's participating in this conversation. Thank you so much. I know it's for some of you it could be evening, some of you it could be you guys could be sharing the same time zone as I am, but welcome to everybody. My name is Chai Kolar. I know Mudit introduced me as Chaitanya. That's what I go by for some of you, but for the rest of the world, I am Chai Kolar. I've had pretty much all my life spent in testing quality engineering space. I've worked with a good number of clients. So I've seen a lot of testing and quality engineering world in a longest close to 18 to 20 years of my career. In today's the remaining 43 to 45 minutes, I really want to come back and share my experiences of how artificial intelligence is kind of evolving, which in other words a machine, and how a human and a machine in the testing world can lead a very happy life, right? We are going to pick a few use cases. We're going to really talk about how each of those use cases apply to every day, if not today, in the near future, how all of these use cases truly apply into testing. But I before I actually go any further, I remember this, that almost in early 2006 2007, I heard a lot of this feedback, right? That hey, automation um, is kind of coming in. All the manual testing will go away. Testers will not have any work because now we have automation. And I still remember test directors of the world, QTPs of the world. They all started evolving, and I would wonder, oh, what happens to a tester like me? Um, many years later, that gossip kind of died down, but it's again come back. But this time it's artificial intelligence, right? Oh, AI is coming. AI will take over the world. Definitely yes. AI is also going to pretty much zero out any requirement or need of a quality engineer. Now, I do not know how all of this will go, but I would say that if my experiences serve me right, we are going to be here more than the developers. I'll tell why I'm saying that a little later. But coming into understanding what artificial intelligence is, I do have a. I do not know how to. Can you guys see, organizer? Can you see the second slide on my screen?
I think we are on the first slide itself.
Sorry, guys. Okay, let me share once again. Is this better?
Yes, now we are on the second slide.
Okay. So what I didn't want to do is talk about the entire topic of AI without truly defining it. Right. This is the least significant slide for you, but very important. The entire reason is artificial intelligence. Some people define, especially since it's a evolution of AI, and it's not hit a steady state. Some of you may define AI slightly differently, so I just wanted to bring all of us into the same page here. In the definition, it says that AI is a field of computing where intelligent machines ethically augment humans' cognitive capabilities. Remember that it's not your capabilities around anything but brain, because if it is anything but brain, if it is replicating some tasks, you can, the term that industry uses is robotics. If you replicate your cognitive humans cognitive capabilities, that becomes artificial intelligence. I think everybody knows about it, but I still wanted to define. Looking at the evolution, I think it's very important to understand that AI is not a brand new concept, right? It's been there forever and ever. The reason why AI was not in the front and center of technology is because AI needs a lot of data, and there was no way in 1960s, 70s, all the way until 2010, it was there was no way to kind of bring all of the data that we can collect under one umbrella. And it is happening because of the evolution of data, big data, and all of you pretty much are aware of that, youngsters. So now that there is so much of data, AI kind of came back, because now with so much of data, you can create relevance, you can create understanding, you can create analytics, you can create a lot of things. So AI, though it was very, it's an old concept, it's come back to us, and it come back to us really well this time. and and Mangs, Fangs, and Sangs, and all the technologically wonderful companies and firms, they are taking this further and taking this forward. And what you are going to see from now on is the fact that human cannot live all by himself. He needs machines to augment him, which I think most of us are going through, through our phones at least, right? um, Again, tester's role is going to change when you kind of funnel all of that AI that's happening around us to our daily ways of working. You will see that even a tester will start behaving very differently, will start doing things very differently, because now he's going to have a support system that will enable him to do much better, much faster, with much more accuracy. uh, I leave this, these slides for you to kind of review it offline. But what
Chaitanya,
essentially we
sorry
did
to,
was,
Chaitanya, sorry to
sorry,
interrupt. Maybe we can go full screen with the slides.
I am actually full screen. I don't see
No, I
that.
think it is not
Can you
there.
enable that for me? I don't know
Uh,
where.
I think you would have to go live with your PowerPoint presentation.
Hang on, hang on. Sorry, guys.
I think it was, instead of sharing just a tab, maybe we can share the whole screen.
Okay, let me know.
Yes, now much better.
Okay, cool. So we also did a survey, right? We as a firm, we take pride in doing everything faster than how a trend kind of picks up, right? We pretty much front lead a lot of these trends and what's happening in the technology space. If you didn't know, Deloitte is the biggest professional services organization in the world, and we take pride in doing this. So we did a survey in testing world, right, to truly understand how people are kind of consuming artificial intelligence in their bread and butter testing activities. We saw that a lot of people thought or think that AI can be better leveraged in reporting and analytics. If you kind of look at how people have responded, a lot of people think that they can use AI for test coverage and optimization. They can use AI to generate a lot of data and so on and so forth. All of this is true, but one key point that I would like to make on this slide is look at the first bar. Right, it says 30% requirement analysis and designing of test cases. People were still not as hopeful as how I am today, right? About 30% of people said, it can be used for requirement analysis and test design, but I am very positive that over time a lot of requirement analysis and test design will be happening through AI. So that 30% probably is going to be 60, 70, 80 in the next couple of years. We did also ask a few more questions. Where are you applying your cognitive technologies? Again, it's a question of what you are doing currently, and a lot of people, a lot of organizations and clients and our testers are really thinking about generating test data, generating insights again and again. So previous question and this question kind of overlap. So what people thought is also what people are kind of attempting to do. So one more question before we end the survey and actually get to the topic of what I really wanted to talk. The last question that you see here is, what are the challenges that you see in implementing AI and ML? Now, a lot of people think that challenge is resources, which is very true, because when we built our testing organizations, especially traditionally, we never thought that a tester needs to be a data scientist as well, or in the persona of testing, data scientist or data analytical skills are important. We never actually thought about it. And organizations today, at least I've seen 20 to 30% of the client that I work with, they all have a small tiny group of data scientists who are assisting testing groups. That's wonderful, because the models that they create, other testers can truly benefit. And if I were to ask each one of us to kind of take a skill that we want to improve on, it's going to be data analysis. So please invest your time and money on data sciences as much as possible. Going forward now, if you step back and ask me this question, Chai, where do you really look at AI being applicable in testing? I could easily pick 20, 30 different ways to leverage AI. Let me talk about three specific ones here. We have about 30 minutes, so let me spend some time on these three. Right, one, applications itself. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you would have used your phones, and when you text, you will start getting autocomplete. When you actually use Google, it will start giving you a lot more. Or if you compose a mail in your Gmail, it will start actually giving you the next possible 4 to 5 words that you should be typing. Right? All of this is coming from somewhere. Now, if you are a tester who's testing Gmail, then you need to know that you're testing an AI application. And AI application, the way that you kind of construct your test strategy is not the same as how you construct test strategies for traditional non-AI applications, right? We'll get there. We'll talk about that for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll talk about how AI can be pretty much used to automate entire life cycle, and what truly does that mean. And the third part of it, which is also extremely important, is there's enough data in social media, right? If especially for testers that are testing customer facing applications, customer facing apps, or devices, you will know that a ton of feedback just goes into Amazon's, Google Plays, Apple Stores, Twitters, Facebook, etc. How can we kind of leverage all of that so that we can better our testing right? That's essentially what the third aspect of what I'm going to talk about. There are many more. There is a slide out there that says besides these three there are 200 other things that we can do. We'll review that slide if we have time. Coming to the first aspect of what I wanted to speak about, which is how do we look at an application? How do we kind of strategize your testing, especially when you see an application that has AI in it? Now, in a traditional, if you go back and look at one of your test cases, on a traditional application, you will see that your test case would have two important aspects. One is steps to replicate a functionality, and two, expected results, right? Your expected results, if you look at it, is always specific expected results. You would say authentication should be successful. You should say home, if you're clicking on home page, your expected result is home page should get you to whatever, wherever it lands. And if you have a payment step, your expected result will be payment should be received, etc., right? If you look at an AI application, you truly cannot put in a specific expected result. It's all about tolerances. It's all about what could be a potential answer. You can never predict a right answer because, for example, the Gmail application we were talking about composing, when you want to compose, what do you put as an expected result, right? It could give you in a different grammar the next four words. It could, you if you're writing in English or Spanish or Mandarin, you will know that your expected results will completely be different. And for the same line, depending on the context, your expected result will also change. So as a tester, you should know that, oh, I cannot now traditionally write my test cases the way that I was writing, right? So what will change in AI, if you see the middle part of the screen there, you will realize that you will have to really think very differently. Even in your requirement gathering phase itself, you should understand what is the type of AI model that's been implemented. What kind of boundaries and tolerances will my product managers be okay with? Because there is no right or wrong answer in AI. It's all about, if your expectation is that you should get a positive emotion out of your testing, then how much of tolerance can my application be okay with, right? That those are the boundaries and tolerances you should understand. You should also understand, if you're testing, uh, uh, actually when you're testing, you should realize that you now need two sets of data, right? Because one set of data is your test data, right, which is traditionally used to plug into your applications. The other set of data that you would need, which you have never even thought about, is training data. You need to train your models for testing your models. So as a tester, now you will suddenly start thinking about two separate data sets, one for training, one for testing, right? And then think about your end-to-end testing, because if your application 1 gives you some kind of a response, how will your application 5 kind of take that response? Because your application 1 has AI in it and application 5 may not. So you need to really understand those aspects. And there are a ton of things that are also not going to change just because you have AI infused applications that you're testing, and those are listed in the bottom of the slide here. So I'll just move on. I know that you probably may have better insight than me or questions. We'll take all of that as we get to the Q&A. Now, if this is again a 15-second slide. I'll not spend too much time. You see that if you have a testing, if you have to test on an application that has AI infusion, then you realize that anything that you're testing on devices, that device itself wouldn't change, but how it kind of how you use the device will actually change. So one doesn't change, two probably will remain the same, but machine intelligence will completely change from what you've been using, right? So we are all so used to testing using business logic, but now it's going to be business intelligence that you're going to put while you actually test. uh, Again, you can use this slide offline, review this. So So we just reviewed the first aspect of uh, first use case of where how your world uh, in the future will change as AI continues to evolve. But the second one is automating entire testing life cycle. Now, traditionally, right, 4 to 5 years back, or majority of you guys, you may be thinking that, oh, if automation, if I say automation in testing, it always means automating test execution, right? We are automating more and more scripts. There are Selenium, there is Tosca, there is that, there is this. There are many, many tools that is enabling each of us to leverage and automate our test execution. What about planning, right? What about, I mean, if this is the 800th project that your company is kind of working on, what happens to those all the different learnings that your company would have learned over the last 799 different projects that they implemented? Why can't we kind of take all of that data, automate, so that you can automate the planning itself? Why can't we automate requirement analysis? Why can't we automate design? Why can't we automate reporting, right? Now, uh, for us to understand that, you need to understand that there is, if you look at how the last 15 years, and how the next 10 to 15 years, how will that kind of range itself is a lot of what you've been doing, like we discussed, has been very human driven. Even though people are talking about low code, no code testing solutions, you will have to still drag and drop. You'll have to still create a test case. You'll have to still execute and all of that. And how all of that is becoming more digital tester focused, which is, if I am chai, there's going to be a automated chai or an AI chai that also I can develop, and that AI chai can kind of take care of all the execution and repeatable activities, where I now start thinking about how can I help product and business to do better development of requirements, right? So my role as a tester will now start becoming or moving towards the left of the life cycle if I have an AI infused digital tester which exactly does everything that I do today, right? That's essentially what's going to be in the future. We as a firm is investing our time and energy and money on that. I'm pretty sure that a lot of our competition and other industries are thinking about how do we autonomously build solutions that can sorry how can we build solutions that can autonomously go and do all of the testing activities, all the way from understanding requirements to generating reports. Now, this is a version of digital tester. If you look at the tools that's out there, you have Jira, you have ServiceNow. You can collect requirements from various different sources. You have test design tools, you have automation tools, you have execution tools and reporting tools, right? It could be ALM type tools or specifically automation, performance, etc. Tools of that choice. Now, if you build your models right, you can pretty much build model that can read requirements in Jira, take the understanding, give it to the next model that can actually go log into Qtest, find out, or ALM, find out the most important test cases based on my understanding of Jira requirements. And then if there are some gaps, another model will start writing test cases. Another model can actually start using Selenium to automate, right? And a few other models can execute and report. And this is one such digital tester which will have about 5 to 6 models all coming together uh, to kind of drive the entire end-to-end cycle of testing. That's essentially is a possibility. Like I said, everybody including us, we are investing our time and money on that. I'm pretty sure some of you may be actually in the forefront of doing some of these things already. But I'll just we'll talk about all of that and your insights in the Q&A. Now, the third part of the story that I want to get to was, how do we really correlate a lot of what you hear in the marketplace, right? Today, uh, I have a mobile application, it doesn't work. I don't have to even go and test it, right? My customers are testing, they are dumping feedback in Amazon's and Apple stores and Google Plays and all of this. Now, if you look at customer feedback, like I said, it can come from social media, or uh, the entire technology has advanced so much that you can find a digital trail of how a consumer or a customer kind of played in your application or used your application. You can really find out from your Splunk and many other uh, uh, digital logs that you can get to, right? So you have two different ways to collect your feedback. The third way to collect feedback is actually communication, right? I mean, you can uh, uh, ask your clients or customers with CSAT and other surveys that you can actually do, and that also gives you a lot of insight. So data is not an issue anymore in everything that you're looking at, right? Especially customer facing applications and products. When data is not a limit, you can always, if the data is more, the usage of AI becomes more and more relevant there. So essence of customer feedback is an opportunity for quality engineering, right? People like you and me, we can use all of that. If we build a model to kind of go log into Twitter, if I am testing an application, let's say Amazon itself, if I want to test Amazon, I know, or a particular product in Amazon, I can log in, find out everything about what consumers and customers are saying about a particular product, get all of that, build models using AI algorithms, and get that feedback. And now what do we do with that feedback is, you can look at the third uh, wire or swim lane on the rightmost, which is customer insights. Now you have so much insight. Why can't you truly go to a tester using those insights? You can actually give it to our tester saying, hey tester, this morning 14,000 people were complaining about slowness in the login, application login, or payment was not working. We are getting 300 different comments on social media on one of these applications. You can real time start giving directions to your testing teams to really tell them what is happening in your application, right? You can, all through building a few algorithms to collect social media comments and to create insights and feed it to your testing team. And your testing team, in addition to writing test cases on the requirements and whatnot, they'll be able to very quickly understand why is there a slowness. When I test it in my test environment, there is no slowness. They'll be able to get a lot more insight because now you have Splunk logs. So if you can correlate customer comments with the logs behind the scene, you can very clearly say, yes, between 10 o'clock in the morning and 10:45 in the morning, I can see a lot of customers coming onto my website, but halfway through they're closing the browser and going away. And those are the comments that you will also start seeing on the Google Plays and Apple stores. So you can pretty much take both of them, correlate, and your testing can become that much better, because now you're real time making sure that you're using all of that customer feedback to better your application, right? These are essentially the three-part story that I wanted to talk about, three specific use cases to kind of use human, which is us, augmenting us with a artificial intelligence models or machines. You can truly enhance your testing. I have taken, we do have about 14-15 minutes here. I will leave the screen here for you guys to kind of process. These are many other use cases that we could potentially use. I'm pretty sure this list is not exhaustive. You can do a ton of other things. For example, uh, industry specific testing. There is a lot of industry specific work that you guys may be doing, for example healthcare or insurance, or technology, media, entertainment, etc., etc. So you guys will have a lot more specific use cases that you can think about to better your own organization's testing strategy. I'll just give you all guys an opportunity to kind of interact with me and ask questions. Uh,
Hey Chaitanya, sorry I'm back. So yeah, definitely a great insights and definitely a great session. So we have few questions in the Q&A session. I'm gonna show them on stage to help you out over here. So first question is by Alan. Let me see. Let me know if you are able to see it.
oh yeah, I can see. How are they looking at infusing AI in their quality practice? Alan, specifically for your question, I was super curious about this in early or late 2020, right? That's why we rolled out a survey in 2021, about 8 9 months back. I think you probably got an opportunity to look at the survey. In short, right, qualifying this. Not based on the survey but my own personal experience, I am seeing uh, easily 30 to 35%, right? I can't just put my finger on exact percentage, but a lot of one in every three organizations thinking about AI. In fact, some of the proposals that we are getting when we actually try to get into new logos and new clients, a lot of proposals will have these questions saying, "Do you have AI experience? What kind of use cases have you delivered to other clients? Here is our issue." And a lot of our proposals these days that we get have a specific place where they're asking us for that kind of capability and expertise. So that's my answer to you. The survey says what survey says quantifiably, and then I've qualified your question. Hope that answers.
Another question here related to the survey. I think this is in regards to the survey that you showed
Surveys.
earlier. Yep.
Yeah. So this survey, we actually collaborated with a formal survey organizers. The factors that we actually took into consideration is your age profile, career profiles, right? We wanted to talk to test engineers, test leads, test managers, directors, senior directors, CEOs, or CXOs, to understand both inside and out feedback and outside in feedback, especially development peers and architects and all of them. We wanted to ask them how they see testing. So there were a ton of factors. For your question, everything that you can think about, right? Geography, age, role, type of industry, and many many such factors. Um,
Nice. Awesome. I'm gonna pick one from the bottom of the list. So
uh, Shifting tests right can be challenging. How can we overcome difficulties with environment test setup? Well, this is such a broad question. I can go on and on about answering this, but a few things that come to my mind, I'll tell you the keywords and start describing what I mean by it. Is one, I must, completely cloud, right? The more cloud adopted your organization is, especially from the testing standpoint, the much better it is to set up those environments. Two, especially for testing right, it's important that what you do. So testing right is all about uh, making sure that after we go live, everybody that uses touches the system are giving you right amount of feedback, so that first you're helping the right side part of the group to truly understand how to use the system. At the same time, the feedback that you're getting, you're handing it back to the the initiators of the project, so that these mistakes will never happen once again. um, by saying that, if you have right amount of virtualization, right amount of monitor production monitoring, right? We for one of our clients in Denver, it's a very large cable client. We actually implemented production monitoring, all the automation scripts that we had right? We actually started executing them in the production wherever data was not very important to go feed. We used that and we created monitors for each of those, architects and development peers, so that they are constantly alerted if, an email doesn't go, or my payment doesn't work, or a certain screen kind of dies down. All of that, we created a few business logic there, so that any failure that happens, depending on the failure, it kind of reaches out to the appropriate fix agents and, force them to fix. So that's one of the things that we also did, Annie. We can talk about this for ever and ever. Like I said, there are many ideas that, depending on the client, we've kind of looked at. um,
Awesome. So this is an interesting question. How mature is the AI tooling, especially around testing space? And this was something we were also discussing in our earlier panel on future of testing. So we have been talking about AI and how AI can help us out specifically in the testing ecosystem. But do you think this is something that is only reachable or available to large enterprises, or this is something that tooling is mature enough to help every organization at every stage of testing?
uh, a two-part answer. One, there are bunch of tools that I can talk about. Look at Sea Light, for example. They have a good AI infused solution. There are some, boundary kind of cusp of AI and non AI, like Tosca itself and a few other solutions that have drag and drop components and whatnot. How mature completely depends on. So I can never take a commercially available solution today and apply it for my industry unless and until the commercially available solution is meant for my industry. Let me actually expand what I said, Jatin. If I have so AI can be mature only if I have trained it really, really well. One example I can pick, there is a company called Charter, right? Now, charter in a very English sense is a very different word, right? It's a charter that you put together for your practice. But charter also means a company's name. Now, very, very simple example, but if I take an AI tool and think that it is mature, it is not, because day one of me procuring an AI tool is as good as AI not being there. But the moment I start training this tool, saying, "Hey, anywhere you see charter, don't think that it's a charter, a project charter, right? It's actually the company name." Or if you feed, for example, logos of the company, right? When I take your logo, your AI tool doesn't understand unless and until you say this tick mark is actually Nike. So anytime I say click on Nike, go and click on the tick mark. Now, where I was getting to is, you can never find any tool that's completely mature unless and until I've devised it for you. So take a tool, train, and then you will have a over time, probably 6 to 8 weeks, 15 weeks, you will have a tool that's extremely mature.
Awesome. So ultimately, those are what the name suggests. Those are tools. So it's up to the user to use them more efficiently in their overall testing ecosystem, right? So, okay, another
Correct.
question I
I would
find.
advise, you guys use, learn basics of data sciences. It's with Python and some data sciences experience, you can create your own tools very, very quickly. AI is actually way more easy to use than Java.
Awesome. So I think that also connects with another question that I just found very interesting. Do you think there is a skill inefficient in the market, particularly around ML and AI? So as you mentioned, like we see that a lot of testers are more proficient around Java-based languages, Python, JavaScript. These are something that are, I'll say, still mature. People are up and coming, but there will be still, I'll say, a gap, definitive gap. How big do you think there is?
Oh, there is enough gap here, right? Especially when testing specifically, right, as a function. We don't. When I look at testing, not every CIO, CXO, CTO will think that if I have 10 data scientists, Nobody will, and data engineers, we will not think that, oh, let me use all those 10 people to enhance my testing. Nobody does that, right? Testing, if I have $100 in my AI budget, I will not even spend $1. That means it's a very difficult place that we are in, where we think testing can be optimized much better using AI, but we may not get opportunities. The only way, of course, there are, your senior leadership may be helping you by getting use the budget, right? While they do their job, the best part that I would advise for all of us is learn. It's very easy. An older generation guy like me, if I could build smaller models by myself, think about all the smart people that's on this call. So I think you should invest your time and energy on learning basic models and bridge that gap.
Awesome. So I think this would be the last question that we should take. So it's more around how to test the AI based application themselves.
What strategy should be adopted to test AI-based applications? Can we achieve it using based codeless testing tools? See, for the second part, yes, but like I just told you that if you just take some codeless testing tool, it won't work for you unless and until you train it. That's the answer to the second part. The first part is your strategy. I think we have a slide. We can go back to that slide and kind of review everything, Sridevi. But my answer to this is your testing strategy would always be, in the traditional world, it would always be, once I get requirement, here is how I will estimate, here is what my t-shirt sizing aspects are, here is how I will add more buffer to my estimates, etc. Right? In your testing strategy, here are the browsers I will test for, here are the devices I will test for, etc. In first thing that will have to change is, if you have AI applications, you will have to move your strategy all the way from requirements. Your requirement analyst, if she or he tells you a requirement, one of the first questions you should ask is, what's your boundary, right? How do you expect an answer for this requirement to be, right? If it is an as a user, if it is a user transaction, your first question is, what do you expect as an answer? What is the threshold? How much is the gap that we are okay with, and so on and so forth, right? That means, in short, your strategy is no longer after requirements anymore. It's going to be from requirements itself. So there is a slide out there that you can use as your base, while you research and figure this out, on this.
Awesome. Awesome. I think we are also short on time right now. The next session is going to start in a minute or so. So I think we can end the session over here right now. Any other questions, guys, please feel free to drop over here. We will collect them and maybe create a post out of it and help you out. So, Chaitanya, first of all, thanks for taking the time out and helping us out with your insights. They were really great insights. And I hope everybody over here got to learn a lot, and really appreciated you sharing all those insights with us.
Oh, thank you so much. Good luck, everybody. See you soon.
All right, everyone. The next session is going to start in a minute. Feel free to join over there.